So, back in 2011, while the Arab Spring was reshaping the entire region, Morocco took a pretty different route. Instead of revolution, it went for reform, and the centerpiece of all this was a brand new constitution, a document that was meant to totally rewrite the rules between the monarchy and the people. Let's get into it. With all this pressure building up, King Mohammed VI gave a really important speech on June 17, 2011. And he wasn't just talking about small changes. He was proposing something much, much bigger, a total renewal of the country's social contract. He actually called it a common pact, which was a huge signal that a new chapter for Morocco was beginning. And you can tell this was a big deal by the language they used. This wasn't just some legal update. It was called a decisive historical transformation. The message couldn't be clearer. This was meant to be a fundamental change in the very DNA of the Moroccan state. Now, here's where things got really different. The process of actually writing the Constitution was opened up in a way that had never happened before. A special commission went out and actively listened to everyone: political parties, unions, youth activists, you name it. The whole idea was to build a constitution with the people, not just hand one down to them. And just to give you an idea of the scale of this change, look at this. The old constitution had 108 articles. The new one? It jumped all the way to 180. And this wasn't just extra paperwork. It shows the state was taking on a whole bunch of new responsibilities, defining things like human rights and national identity in a way it never had before. Okay, so what did this new social contract actually do to the balance of power? Well, this is where the rubber really meets the road. The answer is in how it totally restructured the executive and legislative branches of government. The title changing from prime minister to head of government might seem like a small thing, but the way they were appointed? That was revolutionary. For the very first time, the king was now required by the Constitution to pick the leader from the party that won the election. This created a direct link between who people voted for and who was actually running the government. And this new head of government wasn't just a figurehead. They got real power. The power to hire and fire ministers, to actually lead and coordinate what the government does, appoint people to top civil service jobs, and even dissolve parliament. This was a real, tangible shift of authority from the palace to the elected government. And it wasn't just the head of government. Parliament's power absolutely surged. The number of areas where only Parliament could make laws more than doubled, going from about 30 to over 60. All of a sudden, the people you vote for had the final say on huge issues like civil liberties, the justice system, and how the country's money is spent. But look, a new political system is one thing. You also need a new vision for the people themselves. And these reforms went way beyond just the mechanics of government. They got into redefining what it even means to be Moroccan, writing a new, much more diverse vision of identity and citizenship right into the Constitution. This is fascinating. For the first time ever, the Constitution officially said that Moroccan identity isn't just one thing. It's a fusion of all these different tributaries, as they called them. It specifically names Arab Islamic, Amazigh, and Saharan Hassani roots, and then mentions African, Andalusian, Hebrew, and Mediterranean influences. Pluralism was now a core constitutional value. And this new idea of identity wasn't just talk. It had immediate, real-world effects. In a truly historic move, the Amazigh language was made an official state language, right alongside Arabic. This was a huge moment of recognition for the country's indigenous heritage, and something activists had been working towards for decades. The commitment to equality didn't stop with cultural identity either. Article 19 made gender parity, or equality between men and women, an official goal of the state. And what's really important here is that it went beyond just words. It required the creation of a new government body whose whole job was to achieve that equality and fight discrimination. So you've got all these new rights and new power structures, but how do you make sure they're actually respected and enforced? Well, that was the third major pillar of the reform, building a whole new framework for the justice system and for good governance to hold everyone accountable. A core principle was baked right into the Constitution. The judiciary is completely independent from the government and the parliament. Article 107 even names the king as the ultimate guarantor of that independence and flat out forbids anyone from interfering with the courts. Key judicial institutions also got a major overhaul. It wasn't just a name change. The council that oversees judges became the superior council of the judicial power, giving it more autonomy. And the old Constitutional Council was beefed up into a full constitutional court with much broader powers to review laws. And to round out this new system of checks and balances, a bunch of powerful watchdog groups were officially recognized in the Constitution. Think of them as permanent guardians, looking out for everything from human rights and fair business practices to, of course, fighting corruption. So, let's put it all together. You have an empowered government that's directly linked to elections. You have a much broader definition of rights and national identity, and you have a newly independent justice system. When you look at all of that, it really does add up to what was promised, a new historical contract, a total rebalancing of the state. But, the king himself added a really important piece of perspective. He reminded everyone that even the best constitution in the world is, quote, not an end in itself, but a means. It's just a tool. It's the starting point, not the finish line. And really, that's the fundamental question that's left, isn't it? The 2011 Constitution laid out this incredibly ambitious blueprint for a more modern, democratic, and diverse Morocco. But how does a country take those words, that ink on a page, and turn it into the lived, daily reality for all of its citizens? That's the challenge, and that's the work that's still going on today.